maybe even some of the qualified players weren't actually qualified via the points in order to participate for the tournament. What's going on, guys? This is BunnyMuffins. I just want to do a quick follow-up to the Cloud9 video that I posted last week. And there are a couple unanswered questions still. Cloud9 released a statement on July 14th, and I also spoke to one of the tournament admins, but there's still a lot of issues around transparency on the qualified players and some of the other processes of the whole tournament. And it turns out that maybe even some of the qualified players weren't actually qualified via the points in order to participate for the tournament. So we'll get into that later. Let's take a look at what Cloud9 said in their statement on their website. And they said that we'd like to address concerns voiced by both players and the TFT community around the Cloud9 Nebula NA qualifier. And we have faced many obstacles, blah, blah, blah. We didn't account for the patch schedule, even though the patch schedule is literally publicly known for anyone with a computer and access to the internet. You just type in League of Legends patch schedule for North America, and this website from Riot Games comes up, and it has the patch schedule for the entire year. So you don't even need any special connections from being in Cloud9 to find out this information. Interesting, but you know, people make mistakes. We'll let this one slide, whatever. The next issue is that Twitch Rivals is happening at the same time as the Cloud9 tournament. That means a lot of the players are actually playing in two tournaments, so they might not have enough time to adequately either practice or even be available for the tournament at the same time. So because of that, they're moving some of the start times. And again, having two tournaments going at the same time, that's not Cloud9's fault. That's most likely something that fell through at Riot, because Riot probably worked with both Twitch and Cloud9 individually and probably didn't see the connection that both these tournaments are happening at the same time. Whatever, mistakes happens. Hopefully this doesn't happen again. And because of all this, the start times for Wednesday and Thursday are going to be moved by 1 hour, and they're also changing the semifinals. The seeding for the semifinals is going to be changed, and pretty much the group with the fewest amount of Twitch Rivals participants will play on Thursday, and the other group will play on Friday. The method of seeding the semifinalists will not change and can be referred to in the Nebula rulebook. Next, they also changed the dates for the semifinals. It's moving from Wednesday and Thursday to Thursday and Friday, and this is to accommodate for the patch. There's going to be a new patch on July 22nd, which we can see here. July 22nd, we have 10.15, so props to Cloud9. They did one change that is probably pretty good. Hopefully, the rest of the tournament can run smoothly and no other issues happen. But unfortunately, I don't really think that is the case based on what I'm about to reveal in this video. So one major red flag is after Mismatch Socks made a Reddit post about saying that no tournament should ever be played on patch day, Cloud9 reacted to this very, very oddly. And I don't think this has been done ever. And it is extremely unprofessional and not very courteous to other players. So I was watching the Lobby 2 podcast, and apparently Cloud9 offered to do a redo of the entire Group A just because it was played on patch day.
They messaged all of us, and they're like, yo, do you want to redo the fucking tournament, the first group? They should have done something about it a long time before. And I thought C9 would be a better tournament organizer than TL, but they weren't. And so because they only want to do something after the backlash.
It's just they're not paying attention to TFT at all. It's just or maybe they are, but they don't realize or they didn't even know about the patch timing.
There's no way they don't. Their league or at the same exact patch timings.
So, oh man, you can't play a tournament, have the results come up and say, nope, redo. I don't think that's happened very often before in any sort of competition. That's crazy, right? Especially since the tournament format wasn't unfair. It was a very fair tournament format. It was just not the best tournament format because it was just being played on a patch day. It's not like the people who won on Group A had an insane advantage over the other people due to something that they cheated on or had some sort of favoritism specifically for those players. That didn't happen. The tournament was happening on that day. Everyone knew about this. And even though the patch is coming out, it's just unfortunate that it was such a big patch. And that's the whole issue of this whole tournament. But it wasn't unfair or anything to the players who lost. And there wasn't any favoritism for the players who won. So I don't know. That just struck me as very unprofessional to offer a redo. And especially since players already thought they qualified to the next round. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. Is a remake something that a big organization to do for such an important tournament? I really don't think so. Next up, we're going to go into the whole qualification process and what I've learned from speaking with the Cloud9 organizer. So posted on April 30th, the Cloud9 website showed that there's like a weekly standings, and we could follow the Riot TFT leaderboard, and that's where they'll be pulling the standings from, and that's how they'll decide the players for competing in the qualified slots. And as we can see here again from last week, they never really updated the weekly updates apart from the first week. There's week of June 1st and pretty much nothing else from there. They don't make any other posts updating what happened in week 2, week 3, whatever. And also the Riot site that they link to is apparently incorrect. My fucking bad, guys. I had no idea that the website that Cloud9 posts on their website, and it is the official Riot standings, was going to be incorrect. My fucking bad. And let's see what the real data looks like. So this all started because one of the comments on the Reddit thread from last week said that the document that Riot had was messed up, and if you use this third-party site, which is like a fan-made site, you'll find a more accurate representation of ladder points. Let's go ahead and look at this site. It is called TheTFTSpot.com. Have you guys heard of this site? I'm very active in the TFT community, and I've never heard about this until now. But that doesn't mean the information there is wrong. It's just not very well known. I don't see how anyone could have found this information since it wasn't displayed anywhere publicly by Riot or the Cloud9 site, which again makes sense because it's a third-party site, but why is a third-party site more accurate than Riot's site? It doesn't make sense to me at all. And I did some research on this. I typed this website into Alexa, which is a website tracking site, and it's from Amazon, so you know it's probably one that's pretty official, and Alexa is probably like one of the more well-known companies for this type of product. And they did not find the TFTSpot.com, which means that this website gets almost no traffic, and that just goes to show how unknown this website is. For example, my website, BunnyMuffins.lol, I'm tracked on Alexa, and my website's not big either. So this website really has to be super, super tiny, and the only people that did know about it are probably people who are friends with the people who made this, and maybe some people shared it in some Discords or private messages just to keep track of their own spot in the standings. But the aftermath of this is that one of the Cloud9 organizers responded to this comment and concurred that they were given the official website by Riot, which is shown here, but they also kept their own internal tracking of the ladder snapshot points with their API as a backup, and the third-party website, the TFTSpot.com, that was posted here closely resembles Cloud9's internal results. So luckily from all this, I got in contact with one of the Cloud9 admins, and I was able to hopefully try to clear some things up. And this person reached out to me, and it seemed like they were going to try to clear everything up. Hopefully there's more transparency and more clarity behind their decisions and the whole point process, because if the Riot website isn't accurate, we need some sort of document that shows who qualified, right? That would just make too much sense. And pretty much they don't really respond to too much on the post. By the way, I changed the name to Cloud9 Organizer here. This isn't the real name of the person. I just want to block it out for privacy reasons. If the person does want to speak out, then I'll reveal the name later if they wish. But pretty much they just said that they're only at fault for the patch dates and nothing else. And I semi-agreed. Riot Sheet isn't updated and Riot Sheet isn't in their control. And they did make a backup sheet though. They did also note that some of the invites don't have a huge following because Twitch Rivals was happening at the same time. So they opted for inviting some other people. Perfectly makes sense. However, if you just do some Google searches, you can find a lot of players who have more clout than some of the invited players and have more points on the standings. I can kind of see how you can sort of justify all the invites, but at the same time, it still doesn't really make sense. Just because some other players are more popular and have higher points, both historically and currently. So based on all metrics of most invites, it still doesn't make sense to me at all. But let's stick to the qualified player process and their internal sheet. For example, they said that I criticized KCI, but without counting for Smurf players, we couldn't reach. He was top 30 over the month of June. and they're very open to criticism as long as it is constructive and not bashing. So I just responded, since I only have access to Riot's not up-to-date chart, do you have a ladder list I could look at that you kept internally? I also listed out 3 options in my post. Did they all decline and not respond? They said that Namtom was unreachable, but they don't mention any of the other 2 players, so I'm guessing that since they dodged this question, they didn't reach out to them. This person did offer to send me a third-party website that had similar scoring and came to the same results as they did. So, yeah. They go ahead and link the Google Doc, which we have here, and there's one interesting thing to note about this Google document, and this is from the TFTSpot.com, the same website as we were talking about before. You can't copy this sheet because they protected it, and I completely understand that. If you spend a lot of time making something, you don't want like some other website to steal this data. But the thing is, the Cloud9 organizer doesn't send me their own internal sheet. Instead, they send me a third-party sheet, and I can't manipulate this data or play around with it to see who actually qualified. Because if we look at the Cloud9 website and look at what their qualification process was, we'll see that Cloud9's competitive cycle starts Tuesday, May 26th. And in short, that just means only week 4 through week 7 are counted. And all these other points, week 1 through 3 and week 8, do not count for the score. And the total score here is counting everything, and not just weeks 4 through 7. So in order for me to get access to the entire 4 through 7 score, they wanted me to copy each and every one of these cells and transfer it to my own sheet. Because I'll show you guys, look, I can do Control A and Control C, and this pop-up comes up. Options to download, print, and copy have been disabled on this file. If I tried to like highlight something and right-click it to try to copy it, nothing happens. I'm right-clicking a bunch right now and no little sections popping up and with the copy option. So again, there's no way for me to find out who actually were the top 20 people on ladder for weeks 4 through 7. Luckily, I'm pretty tech savvy, so I was able to copy the sheet anyways, but a lot of people aren't like that, and had I not been tech savvy, I would have had to copy every single value in the sheet in order to get these numbers to pop out here in this spreadsheet. So let's take a look at this for now. I'll just go over the key to this, and red means not available, and red that means these people are not in the North American region, or they didn't respond, or they're a Smurf account of one of the other top players. Yellow means that they qualified according to Cloud9, and orange are the invite slots. So I went ahead and added up weeks 4 through 7, and that's reflected in column P over here. And you'll see that like Keen, not North America. Robin Songs, he already qualified with a different account. Lil Steppy, he's from a different region as well. Namtom, they tried to reach out to, but they couldn't find him. Mismatch Socks, that's a Smurf account. But then we see 1109. I don't know too much about him. So does anyone know if 1109 and Replay are players in North America? And if they are, did Cloud9 reach out to them? I have no idea. Pretty much these 2 players have more points than Wow It's Pat and JRC. Regardless of that, like let's just say that Cloud9 did indeed reach out to them. I end up asking them later and they dodged the question, so I'm not entirely too sure. Next up, we have KCI over here, and he is in 36th place, but I think this thing is offset. The ranks are offset by 3 on the columns on the left side, because this ignore column A, because column A is for the total score of every single week. But again, Cloud9's not using that. But we'll see KCI here. But you'll notice that there are 3 names that are ahead of KCI, which is super interesting to me, because what are the chances that 5 different players are all accounts that are not North American players, or that they were also unable to be reached out to? And we'll make it 6 if we include Namtom, because he was unable to be reached. So what are the chances that Kalsuo, Railart, and Mango the Hun were all unreachable? But the thing about Railart is that he changed his name recently, but if you typed his name into LolChess, an account called Susannu would pop up, and we could see here this person was really high in previous weeks, and I'm guessing that this is the same person. If someone knows more info on this, let me know in the comments, but maybe that's why Cloud9 couldn't find this person, because they changed their name. But if you typed it into LolChess, this name popped up, and it doesn't work anymore because someone stole his name, Rallyart, and so this doesn't work anymore. But this did work a couple days ago. You guys are just gonna have to trust me on that. Again, KCI is still not the next qualified player. So his invite still doesn't make sense. If we look here, he has 115 points, and these 3 players above him all have 120 points. So whatever, let's just keep looking into the DMs just to see some other things. So basically, this person says you'd basically have to type down week 4, 5, 6, and 7 manually since copy pasting's not a thing. And whatever, I had to wait to export it, and I thought it was week 4 through 8 at first because I thought it was a 5-week thing on their website, but apparently I'm wrong. It's only weeks 4 through 7. But this person cleared it up. They only use 4 through 7, and that means that KCI was 33rd and Treebeard is 38. However, that doesn't answer like Calsuo, Ralliart, and Mango the Hun. One other thing to note is that they intentionally skipped the 16th, June 16th, due to the ladder reset, and that's why they're only using 4 through 7 instead of 5 weeks. However, this begs a question because on their website, it says that after 5 competitive weeks, each player will have their week with the lowest points earned dropped. Keep in mind, the whole June 16th ladder snapshot point total not counting was something publicly said by Riot, and that's why there's no score recorded for that week. But if there's no score recorded for that week, they still have to drop the lowest score. Am I wrong in thinking that? It's like when a teacher says, oh, your lowest quiz score for the semester is going to be dropped, and then they end up not dropping it. That seems a little suspect to me, right? So if we interpret this lowest points earned dropped, that changes a little bit in the standings. So I go ahead and do that here. You can look at this formula. I do the sum of week 4 through 7, and I subtract the lowest point total from each of those weeks. And if we sort from highest to lowest here, we'll see that the standings shake up a tiny bit, and we'll see that people like JRC, WildSpat, they go down a little further, and there are a lot of other players who actually do qualify based on this other way of tracking the standings, which is, again, listed out on Cloud9's website, which says the lowest points for the competitive weeks will be dropped. It doesn't say that the week dropped by Riot is going to be dropped. It doesn't say that at all, because if nothing's ever recorded, you can't drop that week. And imagine if you're this player over here, and you'll notice that this person has 0 points one week, but has a lot of points the other week. So imagine that this person was just like, oh, my lowest point total gets dropped anyways. I'm not going to play this week, whatever. I'll grind up later to get the points needed to qualify for the tournament. And under this point system, he actually does qualify over some of the other players. And that just doesn't make sense to me at all. Don't say you're going to do something and then cancel out of it at a different time. Because again, like, this is the point total with their highest scores, with their lowest score drop. And the standings change dramatically, and this is all information on their website. I'm not making this stuff up. So that just goes to show, are the qualified players in the Cloud9 tournament the people that are actually supposed to be there? Again, none of this would be an issue if the tournament organizer either shared their internal sheet or answered some of my questions. So let's dive a little deeper into that again. So we talk about the whole lowest point drop things, but this person just says it's the 16th for those players. But again, no one ever recorded the 16th because it wasn't counted by Riot, so that just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Again, it's like saying the lowest test score would be dropped, but then a test that never happened is the one that's going to be dropped, and that doesn't make any sense at all. So we talked more that day. This was the day of the post. It's like 5 a.m. for me, so it's getting really late. My sleep schedule during this whole lockdown thing is going absolutely crazy, but I asked why they never looked at total points, and they just wanted the best player in June. Again, that's like a difference of opinion. I personally would have wanted to invite some of the higher overall point players, but again, there's nothing wrong with inviting the people who are best in June because that's the most recent month. So I don't really fault them too much for that, but I pretty much say, like, hey, you sent me to a website that I can't copy or manipulate. Luckily, I am pretty tech savvy, and I can copy their sheet and do the analysis needed to find out who actually qualified, because again, they're not sharing their sheet and I have no idea why. I end that with like, thanks for giving more insight. I have to sleep now. It's very late. I'll check on things tomorrow. So I wake up the next morning and it's 2 p.m. So I just ask a simple question. Would you mind telling me who you tried to contact but didn't respond or were too busy? And this is for the people who qualified, not the invites. For example, you were saying you couldn't reach Namtom. Did you also reach out to Lil Steppy, 1109, IAM Met, Replay? Are these Smurfs or non-NA residents? And after doing a little digging, I found out Little Steppy is not a North American resident, and the tournament organizer says that Met is in Hong Kong, but they don't answer that for 1109 and replay. Interesting, right? Also, I asked if there are any others that they reached out to that didn't respond, maybe ones that are different on their internal standings list, because apparently we have different standings if we're looking at different numbers, you know? And again, I'm just using the information they linked me. I can't do anything more than that. Pretty much like no response there, despite being very active in the DMs the day before. No response at all the entire day. I sent the first message at 2 p.m. and then at 9 p.m. I said, any updates on this? We could talk on a different platform if you would like, but nothing happened. So I wait, notice how this says June 12th over here. And if we look at some of the dates, we first started talking on Friday at 5 a.m. So it was really Thursday night if you think about it that way. So I don't really hear anything until Sunday, and that's when I go ahead and tweet at the organizer. And over there I said, any follow-up to what we were discussing, would love to have more clarity. And then this person probably interprets this the wrong way. No updates on this. I'm not opening Reddit since I have the weekend off. Completely understandable. I don't know the work schedule in the esports scene, so my bad. I know most people do have weekends off, but since this person was so responsive on that Friday, I thought we could continue the conversation the next day. My bad. I even waited an extra day, but whatever. She was busy supporting other projects, and I saw your ping on Twitter, but I'm not willing to discuss this on social media. Neither am I. Big surprise. However, when you DM someone on Twitter who you're not following or they're not following you, you don't get a message notification for that, if you guys didn't know that. So that's why it's always better to tweet out at people if you want to get their attention. And again, I haven't heard a response on this from 2 days, despite getting instant responses on the day we were talking. So I don't see anything wrong with reaching out on Twitter that way, since their username lined up with their Twitter username. And they also bring up the point, if your goal is just to drag this out, I'm not sure if we could continue talking. What part of my message here is me trying to drag things out? I'm just asking a question of who did they reach out to, because they dodged my question the first time. So this is the second time I'm asking this question, which they conveniently ignored before. And yeah, they say before that they didn't use a flawed Riot chart, and they tried to reach out to people. And yeah, I get it. Like, they don't need to justify every single step, but I'm literally just asking, based on these fucking standings that they sent to me and to use, why are certain people not in the tournament? And spoiler alert, I contacted some of these players individually. I'm not going to name who, and some of them are NA residents, and they actually tried to reach out to Cloud9 because they thought they had qualified, but instead they picked other people. So it just doesn't make any sense. Am I crazy in thinking that? I'm not trying to drag it out. There are many questions without answers, and there are many names like the ones I mentioned before that I'm confirming whether they were reached out to or not. Also, some info is inconsistent with the Cloud9 website. So here they bring up that Ayaya is a resident for Hong Kong, but again, they conveniently ignored the other players who I actually got in contact with, and they are North American residents. So, and then here I'm thinking, like, this person, it's their day off, like, let's just talk on Monday. Like, I have no idea what work schedules are for esports org. And yeah, after a little while, I say that Cloud9 website says lowest score from the week of the time frame would be dropped, and they keep saying that that's what they tried to explain earlier with the whole June 16th being not counted. But again, if it's never counted, it's not the lowest score, because that was never going to be an official weekly point snapshot for the Riot qualification process. So you can't drop a week that was never counted, because that's not dropping the lowest score. There was never a score recorded. So I tried to explain this again, but this person just says this is just going in circles and they're not PR, and I completely understand that. And again, even if you use their method, the weeks 4 through 7, KCI is still behind Calcio, Rezo, Ralliart, and Mango. So the whole invite justification for KCI, even though he's very, very, very close on the points, it just doesn't make sense to invite him if there are people with more points than him. No offense to KCI, but like, that just doesn't make sense if you have no clout, which he does not, because he has publicly said that, yeah, he doesn't stream and he doesn't have any social media presence. So again, I named off 7 players, and again, this person kept not answering the question. It's a yes or no question. Did you reach out to all the players I mentioned or not? And this person just thinks so lowly of me, and is this just to say that I was right? And it's like, no, this is for the World Championships. There should be some clarity and some transparency involved in your process, because all the info you gave me, well, first of all, you're not sharing your internal data sheet. Sus. The sheet that you do share with me, uncopyable. Sus. I copy the sheet and I see results contradictory to your results. I wonder why I'm asking these questions at this point. And they mentioned the other invites such as Primal and Crone, but whatever. It's like invites, you can invite whoever you want, but like for something like qualifications for Worlds, I wouldn't just invite people without like strong justification for that tournament. But we're not even talking about these invites. Like KCI, just there are people, it's like unarguable because some people have certain counter arguments for some of the other players that I pointed out before, and I kind of get it, but it's still not, I still don't think it's justifiable, but I can see if you do a lot of mental gymnastics that it would be. But KCI, literally zero justification for him because he was their invite that was supposed to be, oh, this guy like just missed the point cutoff, and he is the first most points after all the qualified players, but that's just not true. And based on the tone of what this organizer is saying, they're just angry for no reason. I was very polite through most of this DM conversation, and like they say that I come across as pretty hostile, but how is this message hostile? Thanks for giving more insight. I have to sleep now. It's very late. I'll check on things tomorrow. And since the way we were talking, it really did seem like this person wanted to continue the conversation tomorrow. And I also asked some questions like, did they reach out to these players, which I asked before, and they ignored me the first time. So that's why I'm asking it again, because they seem to be dodging certain questions. But yeah, like I also say, like any other updates on this, like we can talk on Discord or some other platform if that's preferable to them. How am I hostile here? Like, I don't say you suck. I don't say you fucked up. I don't say any of that here. Like, pick one uncourteous line here, like from all the stuff that was said yesterday. We go on to say like, oh, they're not a native speaker, so whatever, completely understandable. But like, I asked a question twice and they don't answer it twice, so that's very suspicious. But what's even more suspicious is that I wouldn't even have to ask these questions if they just release the standings. Like, they're gonna be public by Riot eventually once they correct it anyways. Why aren't you just releasing your standings that you're like holding internally or that they say they are? That would clear literally everything up and nothing would be suspicious at all. But since they're not doing it, it raises some questions, doesn't it? But yeah, so I just mentioned again that I asked the question twice and they tried to sweep it under the rug both times, and like they just think I'm constantly attacking them when I'm literally just asking the same question. And I'm trying to be as accommodating as possible because I want answers. I don't really care about anything else. I just want a transparent and fair process, which I don't see that from here. If you guys do see it from here, let me know in the comments. But we leave it off with like, and this is the first time, maybe I could have been a little more diplomatic here. But so I asked like, is the answer yes to me asking if you reached out to all those players or they are not in the North American region? And this includes Calcio, Rallyart, and Mango. So yeah, this stuff should be public information. If we look at other games such as Hearthstone, I typed in Hearthstone ladder standings November 2014. That is a super long time ago. And we click on this, these standings are still public. Shout out to me at 42nd that month, but like, this information, it's not super secret. It doesn't have to be. There's no reason for it to be that way. Again, this isn't Cloud9's fault since this is Riot's sheet, but if Riot sheet isn't accurate, you're gonna have to post the standings on your own. And they did do this. They did this for 1 week. They did this for the first week of June, but then they probably forgot to pay their writer to keep pumping them out, I'm guessing. Going back to the DMs, like I sent this on the 12th and it's now the 15th, and why are they dodging so many questions? If they're just open and transparent about this whole process or the whole standings, no one would be questioning anything at all. And no one would think any part of their qualification process would be suspect. But just based on the way that they handled this, it's completely unprofessional. They contradict rules directly written on their website for the qualification process, because we can see that the lowest point totals were not dropped at all. And people higher than KCI were probably not reached out to as well. Cloud9 doesn't share their standing sheet when the public sheet is inaccurate. And to top this all off, they offered a remake to players who already played their games in a group for a tournament as important as this. I just expected more from an organization such as Cloud9. And for those people who think like I just hate Cloud9. I've been a Cloud9 fan pretty much since like the High Lemonation Balls days. Like Balls on High were probably one of my favorite players during their time. But man, I just thought that an org that's been in the scene for such a long time is at the top of the game in every game that they are in would just be able to do something as simple as run a qualifier. And something like this, even though it's very important, it's like a pretty small tournament. There are just 32 players involved. And it's just been not handled the way I thought it would be. And this brings us to the final point. Should the lowest point total be dropped? Or are we okay with June 16th, the week of June 16th, being the week that is dropped for everyone? Because again, there's an official tweet from Riot that says, due to the amount of changes in the mid-season update, ladder ranks will not count towards OCE North American Finals qualifications for the week after the mid-set update patch 10.12. We wanted to give a week for everyone to adjust. Next ranked snapshot will be like the week after that. Notice they make a typo on this. They're actually talking about the 23rd as other people mentioned down here. Again, no points were recorded for that week, the 16th. So you can't drop a point total that never existed. Yeah. Let me know about what you think about that in the comments below. Hopefully I don't have to make a video like this again. Honestly, I want to focus on making guides for TFT, maybe posting funny clips of TFT, maybe like sharing some interesting news about TFT, do more episodes like my team up episodes where I invite pro players to walk me through how they play the game and also interesting facts about their life. But right now, every organization is pretty much treating TFT as a joke. And until we settle the score with that and have properly run tournaments and transparency within the competitive scene, I can't really do as much of the other content because it just wouldn't make any sense. Who cares who the best players are if all the standings are scuffed? Yeah, I didn't like making this video, but if you did like watching it, feel free to hit the like button down below. If you're new to the channel and you want to get better at TFT, I post a lot of guides. I make a meta snapshot every single Friday since I started playing TFT. And I also release a bunch of guides on how to improve your mentality and how to play the game. So if that's something of interest to you, hit the subscribe button down below. And if you want to be a little even more extra and you want to join the most active Discord community for TFT apart from the official TFT Discord, my Discord is probably the most active in terms of coaching, patch discussion, theory crafting, and having access to challengers, GMs, and masters to help you improve your game. But yeah, hopefully next video is more upbeat. Thanks for sticking around for this. I'll see you guys next time.